Outlaw, Macho, Drive-In.
I'm not gonna say his other promotion just so I can piss somebody off who's not gonna listen to this, although he might. New Japan Pro Wrestling's Tom Lawler.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, in a perfect world, this could be like a big super fight.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it would be a classic NWA, classic old school NWA thing where there's this guy who has a lot of, noise outside of the mainstream NWA, and he's coming into the. I would love for
Yeah.
Nickaldous to actually defend the title on New Japan Strong against
Oh, too.
and retain, but it would be like the old school, like Ric Flair going down to Memphis and defending versus Jerry Lawler, for example, or
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Honestly, Nick Aldis can get two title defenses on Strong because he could wrestle Lawler. You have Brody King do something that makes Lawler lose. You could have Nick Aldis versus Brody King. Tom Lawler does something that makes Brody King lose. And Team Filthy and Violence Unlimited are feuding. It's an easy out, so it doesn't make either guy look weak.
Yeah,
And Aldis carries on.
yeah, you can have that, and then a few months down the line, you can come back and defend versus Kenta.
Yeah, that'd be
That would be big.
amazing. Yeah, yeah.
That would, and I was gonna say Moxley, but let's keep Moxley on the AEW side of things when we get to it.
Say so. Yeah. I would agree with that. Honestly, I think this would be a great guy to go against Aldis. You could have him try to get through rest of a strictly business to get to Aldis. Have him go through Latimer. You have him go through Adonis. Think about Lance Archer. He sets his eyes on
Yes,
Aldis.
yes,
I think that would be a great.
that'll be a great. Yeah, that would be a great. That'll be a great run, and you would have it sort of like. Um, if you can have all this be in that Triple H role of cowardly enough that he keeps throwing stuff at Lance Archer and Lance Archer just barrels through it, sort of like Triple H with Evolution.
Yes.
Guy has to go through the Randy Orton, but he's still so forth. I don't know why I thought about it, but I thought about Triple H versus the build-up, not the match, but the build-up between Triple H and Booker T at WrestleMania 19. That was,
Yeah.
and you have Aldous doubt himself. Now, here's a problem that Aldous does not. From what I saw, Aldous was never projected that he was worried about losing his title.
Yeah, I have not yet to see that. He's always comes on, speaks very monotone. He talks like almost like a who he reminds me of. When he talks in his promos, he reminds me of Charles Widmore. That's who he reminds me of. From Lost.
Oh,
That's who he reminds me of when he speaks. Like he's cold and calculating, but doesn't really have any like concerns for losing. It's very much like the name of his faction. He's strictly business, which was what Widmore was. He would ever confront, like Ben or Locke or anybody.
you're a man. You're a man who's not fit to drink my whiskey, let alone challenge for my title.
Yes. Yes.
That was okay. Let's just go on a side quest for Lost here in a second, but that might be one of the most perfect character introductions in all of television because it showed you exactly how much of a scumbag this guy is.
Yeah. And yeah, because he was.
He could have just said no, but
Yeah. He like the first time they show him just as a shot, then they show him with that. It's a slow build until the end, and he's a perfect antagonist on that show.
He is. He is. He's also the antagonist that came out of nowhere. Like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, this guy's in the memory, and here's the beauty of it. That scene that I just imitated, that thing about nothing, it was powerful enough that it left an impression that once this guy shows up as part of the current storyline, how many episodes later, he was
yeah,
in your mind like, oh, this yeah, lover is
yeah,
is in on this. You're like,
yeah.
perfect character introduction. But yeah, yeah, Aldous has that same energy, but Aldous, I'm not gonna say like this might sound cruel, but to me, it's sort of like, and this comes to me not watching the NWA back when it was championship wrestling or building up to this ring. But if I turned on NWA starting with when they started broadcasting Power, which I did, which I personally did, that air of arrogance will take time for me to connect because I'm a new fan of this current version of the NWA. I don't understand. I would not understand why Nick Aldis is that arrogant.
Yes,
And here's the problem: in his arrogance, it makes you think that yeah, which is honestly the what is happening now. There is no one in that company that's on this guy's level, and he knows it,
no,
and he's rubbing it in all of your faces, which is a great heel tactic. But then again, you as a viewer start to lose faith in anyone actually dethroning this guy, and so what's the point?
yeah,
I know it. I don't think I put this into words as well as it should be, but it's kind of like he has not he has not been in danger of losing the title since Power has started,
no.
and
Like,
at the same time, he has not established himself as that powerful champion since Power has started, because everyone who has come up to challenge him has looked like a lemon. It's
yeah, they have the only person who had the only person who had a threat to him was Marty Skrull.
yeah, and we all know what happened there. That's the problem.
Yeah, and that was also when they had their first match. It was still pre-Power. Um, 'Cause all this was wrestling on Ring of Honor occasionally at the time. He had like a title defense against PJ Black, which was actually a really good match.
Hmm.
Um, but before COVID started, we're gonna have a match where it's gonna be Skrull versus Aldous. If Skrull won, or if Aldous won, and Skrull was going to
Was
that he
going
would
to
pay every fan in the audience their money
yeah,
back for losing.
yeah,
Um,
which was kind of silly, honestly, but
Odd
yeah,
thing, especially because he was being presented as the baby face. It's kind of an odd thing for Ace in the feud to be presenting.
yeah. So I'm a fan. I want Marty Scurll to win, but if he loses, though, I got this ticket for free. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, exactly. Um, and Skrull, me, and the match never happened, was the last real threat to that title because believed in Skrull being the guy to take that belt
yeah.
because Skrull had momentum behind him and he had
He had a
star
lot of
power.
momentum, and he was honestly he went into it. And kudos to the NWA because the way they reintroduced Skrull and the way they were at before the COVID, put everything on hold, they turned it into an underdog story. And honestly, an underdog does not make a huge entrance like Skrull did to the
Yeah,
NWA.
yeah. But the
And
way
that's great.
they uh, presented it was almost presented it like a Bucky Steve Rogers situation, or Nickaldous was the Bucky, and Marty was Captain America Steve Rogers. He was the guy who took under his wing and would watch over their way up to the major
Until he got
shows like
yeah.
NWA and Ring of Honor. And then after that,
Skrull took
it
the
gets a
super
little
serum.
blurry. Yes, he took the villain serum.
Mhm.
And it gets a little blurry because if you're watching it, you're gonna be like, well, Skrull's the bigger star and he's had more success, which
More exposure, more everything.
more exposure. Yeah, because he was a huge star going into All In. He was a champion in Ring of Honor. He was a champion in New Japan. So yeah, he was sought after. You need a star like him to challenge Aldous, which is why I think Aldous and NWA should do the touring champion thing again. Because as we said, on Strong, he has Lawler, he has Cody King.
He has Brody King. He has
NWA.
Yeah.
Kenta.
Kenta on Strong. If Jay White is gonna stay stateside, he has Jay White.
Yeah. Impact. He also has Jay White on Impact.
Mm-hmm.
Has all those guys you mentioned earlier, like Sabin, Eric Young on Impact.
Yeah. He might even have a couple of challengers in that little indie promotion that's not on YouTube anymore.
I was literally just going to say, is it bad that we have not even mentioned that promotion as even possibility? Like they're just not even important anymore.
I mean, it's not even that they're not important, but if you look at their roster, their biggest two stars are in a deadlock for that title right now. So there is no one outside of them.
I had to think who the other star was. I was like, there's Hammerstone and Fatu. Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Then honestly, their other guy, TJP, is on his way to face Will Ospreay in New Japan, which which one's going to be bigger for TJP? I would take New Japan over MLW.
I would too. And who else is there? You can't they can possibly put the Judge up there as a contender, but
I'll see that being. Is that anything?
But that's not a ticket. No, that's an exhibition match for Nickaldous.
Yeah.
That's there is no one on the MLW roster outside of Hammerstone and
Fatu.
Fatu is their champion, so I don't see the appeal of him actually going for the title. So outside of Hammerstone, there's no one that actually presents a credible challenge. And one could argue that Hammerstone is not even a credible challenge in his own right.
Yeah.
Hammerstone is not, but he would be a great person to face Nickaldous and bring exposure to MLW through the NWA Championship title.
There is one guy who I could see challenging Nickaldous in MLW. Nickaldous goes up at an MLW show, and a certain star walks up to him, talking about how he sees himself being strictly business material. He breathes rarefied air.
Because his father / lawyer thinks that he should focus on being Yes, I would love that.
I think he is the only person, honestly, in MLW who I would really get excited about to see face Nickaldous is Richard Holliday.
Yes, the Caribbean champion, Richard Holliday. Yes, I would love for Richard Holliday to do that.
Honestly, I'm just going to say this as a side note about Richard Holliday. He needs to get out of his how many year contract, because that dude could do better in. I don't see him working well in Ring of Honor, but he could do better in Impact or AEW.
Honestly, he would do better Impact, AEW, or NXT.
Yes.
He's a person who, I'm not gonna say he's good as an indie talent, but he would do better in a wrestling show that is not wrestling centric, like a Ring of Honor, or
Yes,
if
exactly.
that makes sense. It's
Because he's solid in the ring, but his
character is what
charisma
defines
and
him.
his
Yeah.
mic work is fantastic.
Thank you for joining us on the Outlaw Mud Show Drive-In. If you liked that video, please click like and subscribe to our channel for more content from the Drive-In. For full episodes of our podcast, you may look us up on Anchor, Spotify, or wherever your favorite podcasts are available. Just search for Outlaw Mud Show Drive-In. And if it's not too much trouble, would you help us out here? Spread the word, share. We would really appreciate it. Thank you. We love you. Bye.